So, what happens when you take some of the most advanced AI on the planet and point it at one of our oldest, most human challenges? How to save a language. That's exactly what we're digging into today. It's an amazing story about a project using AI to translate critical academic research into South Africa's indigenous languages. This is where cutting edge tech smashes right into a fight for social justice and cultural survival. But before we even touch the technology, we have to understand what's really at stake. And this right here, this insight from Professor Longa Khumalo, just gets right to the heart of it. This isn't just a story about data and algorithms. No, it's about identity, it's about community, and really what it means to be human in the first place. To really get the weight of this AI project, we've got to look back. We need to understand that language has never, ever been just about talking. For centuries, it has been a tool of power. It's what determines who gets to create knowledge and, just as important, who gets to access it. Okay, so here's a term that's absolutely key to this whole story: de-intellectualization. Just imagine a language being intentionally, systematically locked out of schools and universities. It was basically forbidden from being used for complicated subjects like math or geography. And over generations, what that does is it stunts the language's growth. It never gets the chance to develop the words it needs for those important fields. You know, before all this, learning was just a part of life. It happened naturally, in your own mother tongue. But the colonial school system completely flipped that on its head. As Professor Khumalo describes it, kids were herded into classrooms and actually punished for speaking their own language. They'd have monitors, other kids watching them, and in his words, they essentially had our tongues cut. A really profound way to describe silencing not just a person, but an entire way of seeing the world. So, that painful history, that feeling of exclusion, it didn't just go away. Decades later, it was the fuel for a powerful, new call for change led by a whole new generation of students. So how did their protests end up planting the seeds for the very AI project we're talking about today? You can literally draw a straight line from student activism to this AI project. It's pretty amazing. The Afrikaans Must Fall movement, back in 2016, as former student leader David Kobolo explains it, wasn't just about one language. It was a huge demand for linguistic justice for all languages. And that pressure worked. It directly led to a new, more inclusive university language policy in 2018, which created the perfect opening for this project to come to life. And David Kabwa just nails the feeling on the ground back then. The call for a decolonized higher education was everywhere. It was loud, it was clear. But then came the much, much harder question. What does that actually look like? What do you do on Monday morning to make it real? The dream was there, for sure. But the how? Well, that was a huge wall to climb. Students were literally wondering if they need, as Kabua put it, 100 different scholars and professors in a room just to manually translate every single text. The scale of it all just felt impossible. The path forward was anything but clear. And this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. The problem wasn't the dream. It was the how. And technology, specifically artificial intelligence, came in and provided this unexpected, incredibly powerful spark that took what felt like an impossible dream and started turning it into a practical reality. So, how does it all actually work? Well, it's this really clever mix of machine speed and human expertise. First, a PhD abstract gets fed to an AI for a first-pass translation into IsiZulu or Sepedi. But, and this is the most important part, it doesn't stop there. That's when human language experts jump in. They review, they refine, they check it for all the scientific accuracy and cultural nuance that a machine just can't get on its own. Only after that human check does it get published and made free for everyone. And the impact of this? Oh, it's so tangible. We're talking about a farmer in KwaZulu-Natal who can now read the latest agricultural science in her own language, IsiZulu. Imagine a student in Limpopo who can finally tackle complex sociology in his mother tongue, Sepedi. This means local policymakers can use actual evidence-based research to make things better. It means teachers can create lessons that are truly relevant to their communities. It's bridging that massive gap between the ivory tower and the real world.
But let's be totally honest here. AI is not a magic wand. And as the project leaders are the first to point out, we have to be brutally real about the challenges. Because while this technology opens up incredible doors, it also shines a bright light on a new and really deep kind of inequality, the AI divide.
The data here just lays it all out, and it is stark. Using a standard quality score, the AI translation for Afrikaans, a language with a ton of digital resources, is fantastic. It scores a 0.85. But then you look at IsiZulu, a language that is massively under-resourced online. The quality score just plummets. We're talking 0.20. That's not a gap, my friends. That is a chasm.
So to really help us make sense of that data, Dr. Elena Krull came up with this absolutely brilliant analogy. For a language like Afrikaans, using AI to translate is like building with Legos. All the pieces are already there, ready to go. But for a language like Sepedi, you're not just building the house, you're literally having to manufacture every single brick from scratch before you can even start. And that gets us to the absolute heart of the matter. This project isn't just about translation. It's about that slow, painstaking, intentional, brick-by-brick process of building the entire digital foundation that these languages desperately need if they're going to survive and thrive in the modern world. So what does that brick manufacturing actually look like in real life? Get a load of this number, 90,000. That is how many parallel English to IsiZulu sentences were painstakingly created over years of work in a similar project. Each one of those sentences is a precious digital brick. And that massive effort, that was for one academic field. It just shows you the mind-boggling scale of work needed for every subject in every single one of these languages. And the stakes here could not be higher. This all leads to this very urgent, very modern threat called digital language death. This is the risk of a language becoming irrelevant, not because people stop speaking it at home, but because it basically doesn't exist online. As Professor Kamala points out, when his son Googles something and can't find it in his language, he just assumes it doesn't exist. If the knowledge isn't online, then for the next generation, it might as well be non-knowledge. And this is where the challenge comes right back to all of us. Because creating these digital bricks, it's not just a job for a handful of academics. Every single time you text or email or post something online in your mother tongue, you are creating another one of those bricks. You're creating the data these languages so desperately need. As the experts say, you're either contributing to the scarcity or you are actively being part of creating a new abundance. So, at the end of the day, this whole thing leaves us with a really profound choice. Professor Chalizi Merwala reminds us of this quote, "AI is a tool. The choice about how it gets deployed is ours." The technology itself doesn't have an agenda. So the future of these languages, their survival, their ability to carry knowledge into the future, that's not a technological problem. It's a human choice. It's a responsibility we all share, and it's a step that we have to decide to take together.